You know what? I'm going to start this podcast in a different way. I'm going to start it with a quote. A quote. Two quotes actually. One from the late great Andy Gorham and one from Jörg Alberts. That really sums up what Rangers players should be like. How they should feel. How they should believe in our club. Let's start with this one. This is Andy Gorham. He said, "Did I hate Celtic when we played them? Yes, of course I did. I ran out of the tunnel, detesting the sight of them. And even now, I hate it when I see Gers players cuddling Celtic players. For 90 minutes, they need to hate. It means too much to too many people. Why hug someone you should be kicking the fuck out of to win the league?" What a quote. What a quote. And I love that last line. Why hug someone you should be kicking the fuck out of to try and win the league? You've got to love Andy Gorham and agree with his sentiment. It should all be about winning and winning at all costs, especially against them. And Jörg Alberts, the Hammer, said this: "Celtic could offer me all the money in the world. I'd never play for them." What a hero. Good book. Good book. Anyway, look, that's what you want. That's what you want from your players, don't you? You want that attitude of never say die, fight for the jersey, never give up, never surrender, just keep on going. You know, be that Rangers is your be all and end all, that it matters everything to you to win for this club and that you will do anything to win for this club. And I think for too long now we've had too many players that don't have that philosophy, that have the happy to turn up for the money, happy to turn up for the wages, but don't want the effort, don't want to put the work in, don't want to fight for the club, don't give a monkeys, and want to turn up when they fancy it. You know, we'll turn up in big European games, we'll turn up against Celtic sometimes, turn up when they fancy it. And there's a lot of players on the current squad who are very much like that, I believe. You know, and I'm sure we can discuss them. And I'm sure if I ask you to write me a list or email me a list or comment me a list, you could all write me a list of the players you feel are a bit like that. I think the players that would run through walls for this football club is very much a shorter list than that one. You know, I think you'd probably get what? I'd struggle. I'm starting to go through. I mean, John Suter probably I'd put on that list. Balogun when he was here. Nico Raskan I'd put on that list. Connor Barron to some extent I'd put on that list. Ross McCausland, even though he's not a great player, would definitely run through walls for this club because he loves the club and we know that. You know what? After that, I'm struggling. I'm genuinely struggling to name anybody. And that's quite scary, really, you know, to have that kind of, I don't know, that apathy in a way that you wouldn't back these players to, you know, to fight for this club, to, you know, try for this club. I think Bailey Rice probably would. That's bad. Bailey Rice, Finley Curtis, you know, guys that have come through the academy to some degree, they would, because they're obviously, you know, filled with the desire to play. But Butler, no. Tav, certainly not. Yilmaz, no. Proper, no. Suit, I'd say yes. Cortez, no. Couldn't give a monkey's Cortez, could he? Barron, yes. I think he would. Dessers, don't make me laugh. Diamonde, no. Bayrami, no. Cifuentes, Matondo, Nsiala, Dow. Sterling, yes. I'm going to go with Dujon Sterling. He would. Jefte, no. Lyle Cameron, I think it's too early to judge him. You know, I'm sure he'll be a fantastic footballer, and I'm really excited to have him at Rangers. I really am. Ncio, Munn, Curtis, Rice, yes. McCausland, yes. Raskan, yes. Hamza, possibly, maybe. I don't really know whether he would or not. So, you know, I think there's a distinct lack, and that's something we've got to address on that one. You know, we really do. You know, we'll mention at the end of the video, guys, so please hang on. We'll talk a little bit more about the manager later. We've got some more news about Ancelotti, so please hang on for that. That's right at the end. That's going to come after these discussions about the players. We will update the Ancelotti news. We have got some updates on that, so hang on for that. But there's a lot of players, I think, that, you know, need to be shipped out this summer. There's a lot of players that, for me, don't put in the effort, that don't deserve to wear the shirt. You know, I think there's players that have massively underperformed this season. I mean, Nadim Bayrami, for example, springs to mind. A guy who cost £4 million, who is a passenger most games, goes missing most games. Now, he has been linked with a move to the Bundesliga and to Serie A. Not for the top clubs, certainly, but to clubs there. Now, I think if we can recoup some of that £4 million for him, then take it. You know, if it's 2-3 million, let's get it in. Let's get shot of the player, because I'm sure he's eating up some substantial wages and not putting in the effort at all. I mean, if you think about what we're going to need going into next season, you know, that's why appointing this new manager becomes even more important. There is a number of players that need to be signed sooner rather than later to get this team ready for the Champions League qualifiers. You know, we know that we're going to play, I think it's Servette, Bran or Panathinaikos. And I'd rather avoid Panathinaikos. But, you know, I think we need a goalkeeper. I think Jack Butland's likely to move on this summer. Liam Kelly is not a number one under any circumstances. If we go into next season with Liam Kelly as our number one, we have big issues, big problems. He's a backup goalkeeper. That's all Liam Kelly is. We need a starting right back. James Tavernier needs sold. If he is still here next season and he is still captaining this team next season, again, big issues and big problems at the football club. Sterling would be my first choice, but the problem is he never stays fit. Suter starts for me. I love John Suter. I think he's a top player. Yes, he makes mistakes, but like I've said on numerous occasions, if he didn't, then he wouldn't be playing for Rangers. And all you Dessers defenders that defend Dessers for his misses, you've got to obviously give Suter the same slack on that one. Balogun obviously is gone. Proper is awful. I think Proper needs gone, and Ciala is too inexperienced to start. We do need to sign another centre back. It is a priority. Hiefte will be still here next season. I think another year of development will be good for him, but we do need a left back to come in as well, with the likelihood that Ridvan will be on the move. Midfield wise, you've obviously got Raskan, Dio, Cameron, Barron. The midfield's not too bad, if I'm being honest with you. Yes, if we play Lyle Cameron, if we play Lyle Cameron, Nico Raskin, and Connor Barron, it'll be like Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit version, having three Hobbits in midfield. They are very small, the three of them. But yes, I think if we can get midfield, I don't think is as big of a priority. I suppose as well. We've got Bailey Rice who can come in and play in there. So I think there's probably just about enough. I mean, yes, we probably would, in an ideal world, need to sign someone, but money is not unlimited, and we do need to move players out. We need another winger, I feel. You can't rely on Cortez. Tierney's gone. Who plays right side? That's the issue there. So we do need another winger, and we need another striker. Danilo is injured a lot. Not always through his own fault. Hamza Igaman has to start at number 9 next season. If we start next season with Dessers as our leading striker, we win nothing. People have praised him for 18 goals in the SPL. And, his goals record is good. Don't get me wrong. 50 goals in however many games it is. Well done, Cyril Dessers. A nice one. 50 goals. Congratulations. Should be about 100, but, that's neither here nor there to some people. But people going about him, he's the top scorer. He's a top scorer. He scored 18 goals in the SPL. Is that how low we've sunk to now? Is that the mediocrity that we're prepared to accept? It's the SPL. It's 18 goals. You play week in, week out, with the exception of Celtic, against some absolute shite. St Johnstone, shite. Ross County, shite. Dundee, shite. Dundee United, shite. We play against these teams that are utter shite. Now, if you're coming out with only 18 goals, and that's your leading scorer, then, realistically, in the SPL, I'd expect the top scorer to be scoring between 25 and 30 goals a season, realistically. I mean, Cyril Dessers, let's get things straight, would not get a game in the EPL. He would not even get into an EPL squad. He would not get a game in the EFL Championship either. I don't think there's a single EFL Championship team that would buy him. He probably would get a game in League One, I would say, in England, but certainly not any higher than League One. He's a League One striker. Is, like I said, is that the level we've fallen to? Now, realistically, people talk about, you can't sell him, Well, yes, you can, because, this is the point where you're actually going to get some money for him, and I think it would be very short-sighted of the club to hang on to him for any more time. He's on 27 grand a week. If we are going to bring in a striker to be the number one striker, or we're going to use Hamza as a number one striker, you cannot have your backup striker on 27 grand a week. Realistically, he's not going to get any better. He's going to go downhill from now on. So, get the money now. Get it in. Get rid. Gotta go. I mean, I must admit, I find Rangers very hard to watch when he plays. So we do need a hell of a lot of players still. And that's why this new manager is so vital. Really, really, really important that we get this new manager in ASAP. But like you said, we need a number of players in this window. And, realistically, are we going to get all those players in this window? Well, possibly not. But, you look at the priorities for me, goalkeeper, right back, left back, centre back. You've got to build that defence. Good teams are built from the back. Build from the back. Striker definitely is a priority. Winger is a priority. That's what, 6 players? It's possible, I suppose, to bring in 6, but beyond that, 7, 8, 9, 10 players, unrealistic. But we do need to spend money. We do need to bring in these players. I think Lyle Cameron is the midfielder. I don't think we'll buy any more for the midfield, but I do think we will address those other positions, and we do need to address those other positions for definite. But on this new manager, the video that you watched yesterday, which is fantastically well received. Thank you guys for all the fantastic comments, and thank you for watching the Davide Ancelotti video yesterday. Look, Davide Ancelotti, whatever you think of him, whether you're pro Ancelotti, anti Ancelotti, whatever, this is a guy who is an exciting young coach, who is seen as one of the most talented up and coming coaches, who can start his managerial career in the right way and take Rangers back to where we belong, back at the top of the Scottish game, and continue to compete in Europe. Now, the update is, obviously that Davide Ancelotti has left Madrid. Now, the original thought was that he would then link up with his dad and that he would help his dad for at least 2 of the forthcoming Brazil games. However, it's now been revealed that Rangers link Davide Ancelotti has not and will not be teaming up with his dad Carlo in Brazil, as was earlier suggested. Taking his first press conference as the new Brazil team manager yesterday evening, Carlo Ancelotti also addressed his son's future, which was interesting. In that, he said that he felt that his son was ready to go it alone, was ready to become a manager in his own right. He said that his son has held talks with a number of clubs in Europe. He said this. He said Davide is currently in negotiations with a European team, and it didn't seem right to bring him along into Brazil. If he goes to a club, I wish him all the best. And if not, he can come back to us here in Brazil. So those stories that went round yesterday that he was in negotiations, that Marca brought out, that he was in negotiations with Rangers, have now, in a way, sort of, been backed up to some degree by his father. His father has said that yes, he is in negotiations with a European team. He didn't name that team. He wouldn't. It's not the sort of thing that Carlo would do. He's being professional about this. But at the end of the day, this is big news. This is, I think, a real possibility that Davide Ancelotti will be appointed Rangers manager sooner rather than later, if a deal can, of course, be agreed. And as I said, in yesterday's video, I think, the fact that he is a progressive, modern, advanced, technically attacking, forward-thinking coach who has learnt from probably one of the best managers in world football, we're going to be getting a very highly talented guy. And if we can back him with the right players, bring in the right players, which we do need to do, at least six, I think, this summer, get out the deadwood, get rid of Tav, get rid of Dessers, get rid of Proper, get rid of Bayrami, just to name but 4. I think that can help him to move. I mean, obviously, you add into that Matondo, Cifuentes, Dowell, Davis, etc., etc. But, those are the players that have not been out on loan, the players that we do need to get shot on. So I think, that can really help Davide Ancelotti move forward and move this team forward. But it does seem that he is in negotiations with a European club. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. On the way out, please drop me that comment. Please obviously subscribe. Ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of the free content. Remember, we don't charge you for content here on the channel. Thanks for watching. We are the people.